Hello, BJ. Very basic Bible. Gonna do a quick Bible study topic. Let's find us a passage. Here we go. We'll go to Nahum chapter 3. Why not? Let's see what happens. All right. Start reading. Uh Read the NRSVP. Why not? City of bloodshed, utterly deceitful, full of booty, no end to the plunder. Full of no end to the plunder, the bloodshed. Man. I guess they get all their booty and plunder from bloodshed. The crack of the whip and the rumble of the wheel, galloping horse and bounding chariot. What does that have to do with the first verse? Horsemen charging, flashing sword and glittering spear. Piles of dead, heaps of corpses, dead bodies without end. They stumble over the bodies. City of bloodshed. With lots of plunder and stuff, probably from the bloodshed. Galloping horses and rumble of the wheel. Maybe they get it from galloping and they have charging horsemen and they kill everybody and they stumble over dead bodies. Maybe because of the countless debaucheries of the prostitute, gracefully alluring mistress of society who enslaves nations through her debaucheries and peoples through her sorcery. Okay, because of all this, because of because the multitude of fornications, all this was caused by the evil desires, harlotries. This is like, man, yeah. Teach this to your kid in Sunday school class. Goodness gracious. Okay, because of all this bad stuff, because of prostitute graceful alluring, a mistress of sorcery, like witchcraft, like doing bad stuff with supposed magic, man, who enslaves nations through the debauchery, man. Because of all that, I'm against you, says the Lord of hosts, and will lift up your skirts over your face. The heck? This is weird. And I will let nations look on your nakedness and kingdoms on your shame. So God, because they've done all this bad stuff, God's going to get them back. God's going to humiliate them. I will throw filth at you and treat you with God's going to throw filth. Let's see. I will cast abominable filth upon you. I will throw garbage at you. I will throw abominable filth. I will throw dirty things on you, treat you in a hateful way. People will look at you and laugh. I will treat you with contempt and make you a spectacle. I will make an example out of you. This God, all loving, almighty God, cares about us. Going to do all this? This is difficult. I mean, there have been bad people. Do any of them deserve treatment like this? And that's what we think. They must. They must. God wouldn't do it other. God is not unfair. May all the judge of the earth do right. Then all who see you will shrink from you and say, Nineveh is devastated. So this is Nineveh. Okay. If we were to read chapter 1 and 2, chapters 1 and 2 chapters, if we were to read Nahum, spill a little water on my shirt. If we were to read Nahum chapters 1 and 2, we would see it's talking about Nineveh. Nineveh is the capital city of Assyria. Nineveh is where Jonah went. You know, Jonah in the well. Nineveh and the Assyrians, they took out the northern nation of Israel as opposed to the southern nation of Judah. So you got Israel, the whole thing is made of two parts, Israel and Judah. At first, it was all Israel. Well, then it divided. The bottom part they called Judah, and the top part they kept the name Israel. Assyria came, took out all the places around it, took out Israel, almost took out Judah. Evidently, the Assyrians, they had no quarter, no mercy. They would take slaves and do awful things to them. If you didn't surrender, massacre everybody, slaughter them all, destroy them, level city to the ground. Like, forget being nice to the enemies. Then all who, so Assyria was a big bad war wrecking machine, to my knowledge. So if you look here, then all who see you, Nineveh, will shrink from you and say, Nineveh is devastated. Who will bemoan her? No one's even going to moan her. No one's going to cry over her funeral. Is anyone going to be sad that she's gone? That's probably what he's saying. Nineveh is devastated. Who will bemoan her? Where shall I seek comforters for you? You see over here, the parentheses start here. Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Oh, and then it ends. And then there's a second set of parentheses. Okay, let me see. The parentheses in. Okay, so all of the parentheses in after will mourn for her. For her. I was thinking maybe who will bemoan her? Where shall I seek comforters for you, as in you, Nineveh? But all the parentheses are right here. So this must be God or the prophet talking. So the people will shrink from Nineveh. Who's gonna bemoan you? You're devastated. And God's like, where am I gonna seek comforters for you, Nineveh? I'm not, in other words. Are you better than Thebes that sat by the Nile with her water around her? Her rampart, a sea, water her wall. Ethiopia was her strength, Thebes. Egypt too, and that without limit. Put in the Libyans were her helpers. Yet she, I'm guessing Thebes, became an exile. She went into captivity. Even her infants were dashed in pieces at the head of every street. Man, war is brutal. Exile is a war term. People fight battles and wars. You go to exile. What's going to happen? Now, when there's a war, like the United States and other countries, they try to be nice to the enemies. You don't want to kill civilian casualties. Not so in the Bible. Jews were supposed to not kill the people when they surrendered. But the other nations, a lot of them, infants dashing against the street, splat, ooh. This is, man, the Bible does not shrink back from telling us what we need to know. I mean, we read about Jesus' crucifixion from what we need to know, from what happened. The Bible does not shrink back from telling us, well, what we need to know, but what happened in history. It doesn't say, well, there was a war and some bad stuff happened and people were sad. Okay, next book. I mean, these are real people writing real history. God is writing the history. Man. Even her infants were dashed in pieces at the head of every street. Lots were cast for her nobles. All her dignitaries were bound in fetters. Even the noble people and the dignitaries were treated like slaves. That's what happened to Thebes. You also will be drunken. You will go into hiding. You will seek refuge from the enemy. If look, look, Thebes, look at this. Are you better than Thebes? Ethiopia was the strength of Thebes. Egypt, too. Put and Libyans were her help. So Thebes had all these people. Yet Thebes became an exile. So who do you think you are, Assyria? You think you're better than Thebes? You also will be drunken. You will go into hiding. You will seek refuge from the enemy. All your fortresses are like, so in other words, they used to go and battle their enemy, but now Nineveh is seeking refuge. Oh no, I'm scared of the enemy. All your fortresses are like fig trees with first ripe figs. If shaken, the figs fall into the mouth of the eater. How easy is it to get figs off of let's see. But Nineveh, all your strong places will be like fig trees. When new figs become ripe, people come and shake the tree. The figs fall in their mouth. They will eat them, and the figs are gone. Yeah. All your first. Okay, I think you can get it. Shake it. Figs fall. Figs are gone. Shake a fortress. I guess people fall out. Maybe people are gone. And how weak is it? How as weak as a fig tree with that. How easy is that? Look at your troops. They're women in your midst. Women didn't fight back then, so this is making fun of them. The gates of your land are wide open to your foes. Fire has devoured the bars of your gates. The gates of your land, Nineveh, huh? You open the gates, all the enemy can go in. Fire has devoured the bars, so no bars. Fire burns the bars of the gates, the bars fall, gates open, enemies can go in. All the people are like women who don't fight. And look, they seek refuge from their enemy. They're like figs. I mean, Nineveh is being destroyed here. Draw water for the siege, strengthen your foot, draw water, because if you're surrounded by an army and you can't leave the city because you're surrounded by an army, you need water inside the city. Draw water for the siege, strengthen your forts, trample the clay, tread the mortar, take hold of the brick mold. You need to fortify your walls. Then the fire will devour you. Even though you do all that, the fire is going to devour you. The sword will cut you off. It will deliver you like the locust. Multiply yourselves like locusts, multiplied like the grasshoppers. It doesn't matter because you're going to die anyway. Here, how many more? Okay. You increased your merchants more than the stars of the heavens. The locust sheds its skin and flies away. Your guards are like, you've got lots of merchants. But what's this saying about locusts? Let's see. Your guards are like grasshoppers. Your scribes like swarms of locusts settling on the fences on a cold day. When the sun rises, they fly away. No one knows where the guards have left. Everybody's leaving, like figs shaking off a tree, maybe, and just eating. No. That'd be kind of cool. We have pecan trees here in Texas. We shake them, with poles. We smack the branches, pecans fall, but then they hit you in the head. Ow! I guess figs are soft. I don't know. Maybe it's a figure of speech. The guards leave. Your shepherds are asleep, O king of Assyria. Your nobles slumber. Your people are scattered on the mountains with no one to gather them. God has said the same stuff before about Israel. They're like sheep without a shepherd. God's telling Assyria, the king of Assyria, you don't have a hold of your people. There is no assuaging your hurt. No, your wound is mortal. Your wound has no healing. Your wound is severe. All who hear the news about you clap their hands over you, for who has ever escaped your endless cruelty? Nineveh is gone. They clap their hands, not as, I don't think it's as in, yay, we're happy she's gone, but clapping is a sign of victory. Like that person's, it's final, something like that. Over here, they're all happy, but I believe I've heard, clap is like, that's that. God is going to get retribution on his enemies. Who is God's main enemy? Sin, sickness, Satan. I guess sickness goes to death. I was trying to think of an S word for death. Myself. I'm an enemy of God. Yikes. I better beware. I better have faith in God. I don't want to be like a fig shaken. I don't want to have my skirt lifted over me. I don't want to go into exile. I want to go with God. Pretty crazy stuff, huh? All right, guys. I guess that's good. We'll stop here and we'll see y'all on the next very basic Bible.